Hey viewers and viewers, my name is General Red Strategist and welcome back to Say Being Hunted. It's time for a new challenge, as promised, because I've been alluding to the fact that I'm going to try and do one of these for quite some time now. So, we're here on a new map and we're about to start a challenge that I like to call, or I've just named it, as of when I started thinking it up this afternoon, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party Challenge, or just the Hatter's Tea Party Challenge, depending on what we can fit into the video title box on YouTube. So this is clearly inspired, of course, by Alice in Wonderland and all that, but essentially it's an item collection challenge. We're going to have 1 hour to collect a series of items based around a sort of loose theme. So the idea is we have to find a pub on this map somewhere, and then we have to start using that as a base by which we collect items, and by the end of the hour we'll then see how many items we've collected and then calculate our score accordingly. So the idea is we have to find a mixture of things. Actually, we have to find items for the tea party itself, so we have to find plates, teapots, flasks of tea and clocks, and each of those will be 1 point for each one that we can find. So plates and teapots, obviously, crockery for the tea party. Flasks of tea, obviously, because it's the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, that it needs tea, so we need to get as much of that as we can. Now the clock side of things, obviously in Alice in Wonderland there is a character called the White Rabbit who has a pocket watch, so we have to collect the White Rabbit's pocket watches, in other words clocks. Basically that's what I'm using for it, so 1 point for each of those as well. But apart from collecting items, we also have to basically bring some guests to the tea party as well. So I've roughly kind of put together an idea of some characters from Alice in Wonderland, and I thought what item or object in the game could sort of represent that guest at the tea party. So I've got 4 of them who we're also going to be looking out for. So the White Rabbit, in other words, we have to hunt down actual rabbits, and we get 20 points for each of those that we can bring. Dormice, because obviously in Alice in Wonderland there's the Dormouse, who's also at the tea party, and basically for that we're going to use the dead rats that you sometimes find in certain buildings, so basically 10 points for each of those that we can get. Dodo is another character from Alice in Wonderland. Basically we're going to hunt pheasants, and for every pheasant that we can bring, every dodo, quote-unquote, that we bring, we get 20 points for them. And finally, the Mome Rats. Now, you remember, obviously, in the Disney 1950s Alice in Wonderland movie, we saw the Mome Rats briefly, like those little fluffy guys who sort of run around. Basically, on the very tenuous basis that the talismans in this game kind of look a bit like them. Basically, we're going to collect Mome Rats as well if we can. So, for every talisman we can find and bring to our pub, 30 points. So that's the biggest score of all. That's basically the point lay down, everybody. Without further ado, I'm going to start the timer. 1 hour starting now. So, as I do with other challenges, first things first, we need to find a pub, and actually find our base and start collecting some items. Of course, because this is an hour, as I also do with other challenges, I will actually, what I'll actually try and do is just split the footage accordingly into multiple episodes and all that. That'll just keep me going for a while. Now, we do technically already have a clock in our inventory, because I started out as the base aristocrat class. Is there anything here that we can pick? Eggs, bones, bread, dead rat. There we go. We've got 1 dormouse already. Oh dear. Oh, 2 dormice. There we go. That's fantastic. Oh my god, we're gonna have so many freaking dormice turning up to this tea party. No, go away. God, freaking robots just everywhere, aren't they? God lord. Okay, maybe I should have reduced the number of points I can get for the dormice, for the dead rats rather, because there's so freaking many of them around. Alright, you just leave me alone, please. Flippin' bloody dudes. Alright, we just got to find a pub really first, because that's the main issue here. Because if we don't have a pub, then we're not going to be able to score any points at all, because we need our base of operations, because that's where we're going to hold the tea party, ladies and gents. Because it seems like a logical place to have a tea party, right? It's probably got a nice function room inside it. Oh, another dead rat, another dormouse. Maybe I should do like a vermin hunting challenge at some point, where I just collect dead rats, because that's normal. Who knows? Alright, we'll keep moving though. So I'm assuming there will be a pub somewhere on this island. I mean, there's usually a pub when you have a rural biome. There's usually one that spawns somewhere. You just got to find it, that's all. So I hope you guys out there are doing alright. It's a Saturday afternoon as I'm going to record this. That's going good. I'm just going to take that for my own sustenance. Right, let's get some more. God, Jesus Christ, look how many dead rats there are. Also, I should take the torch in case it gets dark, which is likely to do at some point. Put that there. Alright. Okay, no sign of a pub just yet. I really hope one has spawned, otherwise this challenge is fucked before it's really even begun. Good lord, my inventory's just... Oh, hello, cracked teapot. First bit of crockery. That's good, that's good. Oh my god. Okay, maybe I should have gone for something a little bit different than the dead rats. Because oh my god, look how many there fucking are! This is crazy! Well, we've got the freaking guests covered. We may have to potentially move into 2 pubs, if we can. Depending on how many of these bad boys we're able to get. There we go, get those there. Right. Okie doke. Oh my god. My inventory soon is just going to be chock full of dead rats. This is kind of crazy. This is kind of ridiculous, isn't it? It should have been the freaking dead rat challenge, this, shouldn't it? Good lord. I'm just going to take some food whilst I'm at it. Because you never know. Holy crap. Well, I think it's safe to say I'm going to have way more than 100 points at the very least if I can find this pub, wherever it is, or a pub somewhere. Look at this, I've nearly filled my frigging inventory just with dead rats. Okay, maybe this was an aspect of the rules that perhaps it would have been better if I'd just not bothered with, I don't know. Probably would have made things a lot easier, because look how full my inventory is. It's nearly just completely, oh my god, stuffed full of crap. There we go. There's nothing in there, right? Time to just find a pub even. Pub. Alright. If I had a map, that would actually make things easier, because then I could just sort of look at it, identify where it looks like there are some big structures, then go and investigate what they are. I don't know, I always feel like whenever I've played So You're Being Hunted in the past, and I've just had a rural biome generate by default, you know, without messing around with any of the biome generation settings. I always feel like it always generates at least 1 pub, and then at least 1 farmstead, 1 church. I think that's possibly just how So You're Being Hunted's kind of basic, how its system basically works, its generation system. If you just leave it to the defaults, it will spawn certain structures, at least 1 of each, something like that. Alright, I don't see anything just yet. Just kind of curious, will the pub be near the path? I don't think it will, it's usually the villages. Sometimes the pubs are usually slightly off the beaten path. So interesting little generation there, where that little ridge has appeared. It's just the hedge actually on top of it that makes it look steeper than it is. Got to be something around here, right? How are we doing for time-wise? I've still got 55 minutes, just under. That's fine, that's fine. Aha! Is that a pub up there? Or is that a farm? That's a farm. Bollocks. That's not the structure I was hoping for. I mean, we can always try a different island if need be. Because obviously you do get pubs sometimes spawning on the other islands as well, in other biomes. All the islands are set to different biomes, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't customised them, I've just set them to their basics, essentially. Has to be one around somewhere. If I sort of look in the distance along the sides of the screen, does anything appear? Not that I can see, no. Oh, well, the farmstead is not much use to me. There's got to be something around. If I can't find a pub, we are in trouble, because like I say, I can't actually score the points until I've put things into the pub. That's the issue. Plus pubs are usually a good place to actually find things like talismans and stuff like that, in my experience. At least that's how it feels to me, anyway. We're getting towards the edge of the island over here, this isn't right. Maybe just stick to the pathways for the time being, I don't know. Let's have a look. Alright. So as we're doing this, in other news, ladies and gentlemen, current affairs and all that, I trust you've, you know, been kind of following the news. Heard recently about the fact that Twitter has now been taken over by Elon Musk. And, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Given all the stuff about, you know, oh my god, I don't have a weapon to actually kill you with. Well, that's a white rabbit, but I can't really do anything about you. I've got no inventory space, no weapons. No way of carrying you around. That's unfortunate. Oh, is that a cottage? That's a cottage over there. That's not a pub. Let's go in this direction. So yeah, Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, and his rationale for doing so apparently was, I don't know, was it something to do with the fact that I don't know, he said something like he didn't like the way Twitter kind of is like banning and deactivating people's accounts. It's something to do with freedom of speech. Why he took over Twitter. He tried to buy it. Well, he bought it out. And apparently, in one of his first moves since he took it over, he's just laid off a load of their staff. I think to myself, that's all very well, Elon, but the thing you got to remember is Twitter is not a national government. Twitter is a private company. It has its own guidelines for what is permitted on its channels and all that. And so I think it's all very well him saying that, oh, you know, this is a big boon for free speech and all that, but there's still going to be community guidelines that Twitter will set and which users will have to adhere to. I think it's all very well him saying about freedom of speech, but like if you look at people who've been sort of chucked off Twitter, usually it is because they've said something that is harmful, or it's just outright disinformation or something that clearly does contradict community guidelines or whatever. So, unless you're going to completely undo all of your community guidelines, Elon, I think in practice you'll find that often free speech is a lot more complicated than we like to think it is, or we make it out to be in popular discourse and all that. It's an interesting debate, though, isn't it? Because the thing is, a lot of people sort of... Sorry, I'm going to get political again for a second. There's a big, obviously, debate at the moment in popular culture about this idea of cancel culture. And I'll be honest, I'm always kind of sceptical of this idea that people are being cancelled. Because if you look at what people say, when people say they've been cancelled, and you often ask, okay, why? What do you mean? What do you mean you've been cancelled and all that? Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes the reasoning is spurious as hell. Like, I get it. Obviously, free speech is something we should aim for. Absolutely it is. But freedom of speech also means that people are free to say, I don't agree with you. And private companies, especially social media, that have their own community guidelines, are also free to kind of set their rules, saying what they will and what they can and cannot tolerate on their platform. Things like that. Like the big one recently here in the UK was John Cleese, the comedian from Monty Python, who I think was, I think he's got a new show or something. Is it on GB News or something like that? Admittedly, I've never watched GB News. I don't really watch a lot of TV, to be honest. But in like an interview about his new show or something, he was basically ranting about cancel culture on the BBC and things like that. He was like, you know, I took to GB News because my show would definitely get cancelled over there. And it's like, dude, you've not been cancelled, okay? You're on friggin' a national media outlet having an interview about your friggin', whatchamacallit, your show. Alright, let me just go north and I'll sort of go silent for a moment whilst the loading screen is active, because obviously, otherwise it'll cut my dialogue a bit. Interestingly, you know, when you do go through loading screens like that, I didn't actually, when I went through that loading screen then, I should say, I didn't actually pause my timer. So technically a few seconds did go by while I was in there, but I don't care, I'm not going to be bothered with it. Right, we're on an industrial biome by the looks of it. Do you get pubs on industrial biomes? I don't know. Maybe? I'm not sure. I swear to God, if we go through every island on this map and there's not a single pub spawned, I'll actually be slightly pissed, because that'll be a bit of a problem. But yes, getting back to the matter at hand. When people talk about cancel culture, it's just like, you haven't really been cancelled, have you? So, you know, I think there's a better example, actually, than the John Cleese example I gave a moment ago. There's a better one, actually, that I can think of. So, a few months ago here in the UK, there was a controversy about a professor at a university somewhere who had expressed a view which caused a bit of division, caused a bit of controversy, because some people kind of agreed with it, other people thought it was kind of a bit transphobic in nature. And I'm not going to sort of get into the debate about whether it was transphobic or not, but this professor did face some consequences as a result. I can't remember if she was actually forced to resign from her job. I can't remember if she was or not, but essentially she would, she then talked about kind of cancel culture and how she'd been cancelled. But the problem was that she was saying that, but then she was still being invited to television interviews and things like that to talk about the whole issue, to give her side and to be questioned about it. And I remember there was a TV presenter, I think was it Lorraine Kelly, Loose Women, who kind of basically challenged her and said, hang on a minute, you talk about the fact you've been cancelled, but have you really been? Because you're currently here on a national TV programme, a talk show, discussing this matter. So is it really fair to say you've been cancelled? Or is it more that you're facing accountability for your words, for things you've said, and as a result, you sometimes have to accept that words do come with consequences? Because that's the thing, free speech, great, but free speech traditionally means freedom to say things without fear that the government will necessarily come down on you. That doesn't protect you, however, from consequences necessarily from other groups, other organisations. That's what people, I think, sometimes need to realise. And so it's like, yes, you have freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean, for example, that you could just go online and badmouth your boss and your employer like crazy and just write out loads of insults without any sort of consequence. Of course there's going to be consequences of that. Of course there are. That's reasonable to expect. Because freedom from speech doesn't mean kind of freedom from consequences, to put it that way. It doesn't mean a total absence of any sort of consequence for the things you do. Anything like that. Sorry, I'm really getting quite political here. Don't know why. I must say, the last few Sir episodes, I really feel like I've sort of got to that point in life where suddenly I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm just going to talk about my views and the way I see things. And if people don't like that, then sucks to be them, kind of. It's not my problem. At the end of the day, that's just how I see things, and if people disagree with me, they can respectfully disagree. And if people get triggered by it, well, then that's their problem, I guess. But yeah, I just find myself increasingly as I get older and older, getting to the point where I'm sort of, I think it's just an age thing, isn't it? When you're younger, you, I think, are a bit less confident in sort of being more forthright about the way you see things, about your views. And so as a result, you tend to be very conciliatory, you tend to be very kind of prepared to compromise, things like that. You're more prepared to, or less prepared, I should say, to kind of stick your neck out. But I find it's definitely something that as you get older, you get sort of more confident doing. And you get to the point where you really increasingly stop caring about what other people... Well, no, that's the wrong way to put it. It's not that you stop caring entirely what other people think. It's more that you become less afraid of kind of confrontation and disagreement with people. Because as you get older, you learn how to handle that kind of situation. And that's certainly something that I've found as I get older. Because the thing is, if you go back several years on my channel, back when I was in my 20s, I didn't really ever talk about political issues all that much. It's only really as I've got into my 30s, into my sort of late 20s, 30s, early 30s, I would say, that I've really started to become more sort of forthright and more sort of, how should I say, more willing to kind of stick my neck out with my views and express the way I see things and all that. The thing is, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, I have all the answers to everything going on in the world. Absolutely not. I don't. But, as an academic, I like to think that I'm the sort of person who is able to sort of adapt their views as new evidence emerges. I'm able to reflect on it and think, does that change the way I should understand and see things? does it not necessarily change the way I should see and understand things? Maybe it just shows that there's another perspective, another way of looking at things, that kind of thing. Yeah, there, that, ladies and gentlemen. So, God, yeah, that was quite a rambling conversation I've just had so far. Okay, still no sign of a friggin' pub around anywhere, which I'm getting a bit sort of confused by. Well, not confused. I always do this. I say one word and then I say, well, actually, not that, but I'm getting sort of mystified by the fact that I've not found a pub yet. All right, maybe we need to go to a different island. I mean, thing is, if we can just find a pub, automatically I will have a mass of points waiting for me. The thing is, we still got about 42 minutes of this challenge to go, so we've still got plenty of time to explore the other islands. So let's get doing that, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm not going to pause the timer as I go through this loading screen, because they only last a few seconds. It's only a few seconds off the clock. It's fine. Right, less than 42 minutes to go now. Take boat south. Yeah, a big combo right there. Oh god, we're under attack. Yeah, I remember this with this level. This friggin' giant robot fish. Yeah, try and shoot you. Shoot the cannon. Oh god, get these on the combo. There we go. Just fire randomly. Okay, it helps in this level obviously if you was there a fish there? Yes there was. If you keep a power up on this, so where you're getting, you know, all the extra points. I think there's one behind us, isn't there? Nope. Just hitting the thing without meaning to. Okay, go. It's basically one of those jobbies where you just have to friggin' keep shooting.